until you see the pictures, there's just a big question mark hanging over exactly what happened. Didn't see that Natalia Kowalska, I'm guessing that was her trying to catch up on the way out of the pit lane, because of course she started from the pit lane, so her tyres would have been a lot colder than anybody else's. She hadn't done the formation lap, she'd just been sitting there for 10-15 minutes, so not surprising perhaps the car looped round on her under those circumstances.
Yeah, she didn't have the benefit of that extra lap, and that makes a huge difference.
Here we go then, finally, green flag racing once more. 14.5 minutes of the race remain. Philip Eng jumps away from Johan Jokinen. Dean Stoneman in third, Will Pratt in fourth, and Eng made the break he needed. And we were talking 3 or 4 minutes ago about when you allow yourself to relax and when you've got to switch yourself back on, and Jokinen was not close enough to Philip Eng there. I have to say, wasn't quite aware that the restart was coming quite so quickly from our point of view either, but at least Jokinen wasn't listening to an interview and getting ready to go. He should have been right behind Eng.
Yeah, there's no excuse for that. They should be on the ball with everything like that, and into the hairpin, the last corner. Even if you see the lights are still on, you need to be aware that they may make a mistake with the lights. They may go green at any minute, so you need to be ready at the end of that lap.
Well, we need to talk to race control again, because the idea is to warn the television that we are going green, because we could easily have been on a commercial break then. There was no warning that the safety car was coming in, so I mean, even if there had been, the drivers aren't in radio contact with the team, so yeah, you've got to watch the safety car, particularly if you're well up the queue, but there were some massive gaps opening up. Now then, there is the slippery surface flag. Just have a look, that's Kelvin Snooks behind Praman Kralev. Now Kralev with Ajit Kumar, the two oldest drivers in the field. And Snooks having a good time in race one. Disappointing to have to start from the pit lane, but he is in 12th at the moment, so good finish in the points as Dean Stoneman dives to the inside of the hairpin, gets inside Johan Jokinen, that's for second place, and Jokinen under pressure from Will Pratt. There's a spinner behind. It's possibly Vasiliauskas, possibly Palmer. We'll catch up with that in a minute. Stoneman under pressure, looks like Jokinen's on the boost as they come up to that right-hand entry, but Dean's controlling the tarmac the way he wanted.
Yeah, fantastic move by Dean, and he covered the options for Jokinen to get back on him brilliantly actually, so very good job with him. The only problem is Eng's gone. Yellow
flags out in sector 3, they've now been pulled back in, so that looks like that's been dealt with. Who did we lose? Palmer, I think possibly may have spun. He's gone down to 10th place, so yeah, he was behind Aman Ibrahim in 7th. So Jolyon trying to do what Dean did, make up some ground under braking around that tight first gear hairpin. Obviously didn't work for him on the way in, maybe he got pinched at the apex, but oh my goodness, Will Pratt living dangerously. Vasiliauskas rather has got a run on him, but Pratt just manages to get the car in the way. Kazim's going to have to work hard for this, but he's just got the momentum. He must have been off the throttle and almost on the brakes to try and avoid that one.
Yeah, I mean, Will tried to cover it, but it was a little bit too late, really. Kazim had the momentum, and now he's passed, so good move.
Yeah, Kazim was just far back enough. He didn't run into the back of Will's car when Will got really out of shape in that chicane. And that means Vasiliauskas is up to 4th place. And Philip Eng, fastest second and third sector on that first lap. That means he's been on the boost, I would think, to get away from the guys behind him. He's a long way gone, 2.6 seconds ahead of Dean Stoneman at the line.
I think it's much closer. Yes, 1.6.
Yes, down to 1.6 this time. So Dean Stoneman, who has been the fastest man consistently, didn't qualify on pole because he used only 1 shot of boost on his fastest lap, whereas Philip Eng used 3. But Dean has had the race pace all weekend to rival anybody, and he's now just set the fastest race lap by 9/10 quicker than Philip Eng on that lap. So we've got a real battle on our hands for the lead.
Yeah, and the overboost is worth 5/10 every shot you use, so that's a huge advantage, and obviously a huge disadvantage if you don't use it in qualifying, as Dean did.
And it makes such a difference here because, of course, it's almost all straight line where you're using that extra boost. Battle here behind Will Pratt, Kazim Vasiliauskas. Will Pratt in the red and white number 2 car in 5th place at the moment. Vasiliauskas just clinging on. And again, looks like he's pulling out a little bit of a margin. That looks to me like a shot of overboost making that big difference. He's pulled out 3 or 4 car lengths just on that straight. So either he got phenomenal traction or he was on the juice button.
Yeah, you can use it in attack or defence, but also to pull away, and that's really what Kazim needs to be doing now to make sure that Will doesn't get anywhere near his toe down the long straights.
Now, to my eyes, Dean Stoneman is just about close to Philip Eng to start feeling that aerodynamic influence as well, sucking him along. Now at Silverstone we talked about the aerodynamics spreading the cars out, and here we're talking about them closing them up. How can the same thing have two completely different effects?
Well, when you're driving on your own, you've got a clean air on the cars, and that's when the wings work at their very, very best. And when you're following somebody, you're in dirty air, and that causes an awful lot of understeer, and it's an invisible effect on the car. You can't take so much speed into the corners, but on the other side, it creates this gap where you can get a tow. And as we can see, Will is getting a little bit closer down that straight. But another effect is that if you're very, very close to the car in front, you won't have the same level of downforce. So you've got to be a little bit careful on the brakes if you're right behind them.
So at Silverstone, it was stopping you getting around the corners quickly. That's not a problem here. It's actually helping you get down the straight quickly, because with downforce, the wings create drag, and here it's cutting the drag because the wings aren't causing so much drag. You're in turbulent air, so that's what helps you go quicker, and that's why actually following here is easier. Ooh, big lock up from Stoneman. Did he brush the wall?
I think he just about got away with that.
Now he's got problems though, because Eng's gone and Jokinen is right behind him. It does look like he's still got all the wheels on his wagon safely, so he may have just avoided that, but it shows how slippery the track is. Just a foot off line can really leave you in big trouble.
Yeah, and that's a tricky corner. You're going around a long, long left-hander, and you've still got a lot of yaw in the car when you've got a brake, and you can easily lock up a tyre, as we just saw with Dean. Going back to the wing situation with Silverstone, you've got a lot of corners which are very long, very high speed. That's when you need the downforce, and if you're following somebody, it's very, very difficult to get close to them. On a circuit like this, it's very stop-start. The wings don't make anywhere near as much difference in the slow corners, so it sometimes provides better racing when it's like that.
We just saw the Polish driver Natalia Kowalska picking up 12th place from Pramen Kralev, and meanwhile Philip Eng, he was 1.1 ahead at the beginning of last lap. He's got to be getting on for 3 seconds in front of the moment. There's Dean Stoneman here, again rattling over that bump. That's almost at the point, I guess, where you're coming off the power and onto the brakes, and when you unsettle the car when you're already unsettled, that's got to have a big effect as well.
Yeah, the driver it makes a huge difference on the way the car reacts.